I am thrilled to share with you part four of a six-part series. And may I mention first that we first had it as a five-part series. We mentioned the first couple parts, but the Lord has greatly impressed me to add one more section to this. So it's going to be a six-part series now, not a five-part series. So this is part four of becoming a dynamic dual. That is what God desires for every married life in the world, that the world can see the infilling of God in and through a married couple working as one. That was Jesus' last prayer in John 17, that we all might be one. Well, that oneness starts with me to God and then me to my spouse. So I'm going to be talking about focused on Him. In other words, ladies, what do you have to do to make your man the happiest man in the world? Because my wife talked last time in part three, focused on her. So this is the counterbalancing side. So let's take a look at it. And I'm taking my thoughts from Proverbs 31. That is considered the chapter for the highest calling of a virtuous woman there is. I'm only going to share verses 10 and 12, but you can read it in its entirety when you have time. And Proverbs 31 says, who can find a virtuous woman? Well, I found one. Or I should say, God found one for me. For her worth is far above rubies. Whoa, women, you know what your value is? Wow. The heart of her husband safely trusts. I can say that's honestly my experience. So he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life, not just when they're courting. This goes on forever. Just as our relationship with God, God's always pursuing us and blessing us. So the heart of a Proverbs 31 wife is always there for her husband. And I want to say that every wife in the world can be a Proverbs 31 wife. So Sally and I, we love to reminisce. When we're sitting around out on our porch or on our swing and we're talking, we like to reminisce about the past. And Sally was asked me a question that really got me to thinking after one of our little sitting spells together. She said, "So Jim, what was it that attracted you to me over all the other girls? I dated many girls before, and Sally, but Sally was different, and she knew she was different. She wanted to know. She wanted to know just what was it that I was attracted like a magnet to her more than the other girls I had dated." And I thought that was a good question. I knew that she filled a void in my heart that nobody else had ever done, but I didn't understand exactly why. I wasn't able to label it. So I sat and I really thought about it for quite a while, not just in that session with my wife, but I thought about it for weeks and I started writing down what it really is that attracted me to Sally above all the other gals. And I found out that these principles, I'm going to share with you five principles, ladies, five principles that won my heart to Sally's and Sally's heart to mine. And I found out that these are actually universal principles. In other words, they apply to all men. They don't just apply to me. They're principles designed of God to bring two hearts together and keep them together. So here's the first one. Number one was the admiration and respect that she had for me when we were dating. Sal and I were high school sweethearts. I met her in chemistry class. She sat right behind me. And then after the class, she would walk me down the corridor of the high school to the gymnasium because I had a handball class that I go into for my physical education class. And I can remember she'd stand there when we were apart. She'd stand there and look at me with that respectful gaze in her eyes. You know, the eyes are the avenue of the soul. They say so much without a word even coming out of her. I was her champion. Oh, no, I wasn't the best handball player in the high school, but I was her champion. And her eyes said that to me. It said that you're the best. I believe in you. Those admiring eyes, I can still see them at age 74. And we were 17. That's 57 years ago. I can still remember that look in her eyes. it builds tremendous emotional security and affirmation and connection with the man, with your man. I thrived on it, and I never tired of it, and I longed for more of it. That look said, "You are something I believe in you." And when I would part from Sally, she was like my cheerleader, my own personal cheerleader. I soaked it up like a dry, thirsty sponge. I wonder how many husbands are like that dry, thirsty sponge today, wanting to soak up that kind of admiration from their wives. Yeah, I know that there's not very many of them out there that are getting it because I work with a lot of men today. So I can say today, at age 74 years of age, guess what? Sally still does the same thing for me. Yeah, after 57 years. And I'm not putting this on just for this video. I'm telling you absolute goodness truth. She makes sure that I know I'm on top of her list as her man. I was up at my desk and I was watching the news, and Fox News had a caption on it. It really caught my attention. It said they're going to bring on the most physically attractive man in the world. So I yelled down to Sally. I said, "Sally, get up here, will you? Get up here. I want to show you something here." So Sally comes up, and in just a second or two, and I said, "Look, honey, this is the most physically attractive man alive." And she looks at me with those eyes, that admiration again. And she says to me, "He's nothing compared to you." And she meant it. She wasn't just playing games with it. I mean, and when I looked in her eyes and I could see it in the avenue of her heart, she really meant it. Wow, that's something. Oh, I wish you could have seen the expression on her face when she said, "I wish I could have taken a picture of it or had a little video there." Ladies, what do your eyes say or not say to the men in your lives? Your husbands are starving for this type of admiration and respect. Your sons need it too. My wife always is complimenting my sons, finding something good to build up that admiration and respect, and our grandsons as well. And ladies, if you're not married, a lot of people should watch this, not just for marriages. It's for you before you get married to know what the steps of actions are to keep a marriage solid and in love, and have that real romance continue for 57 years in our particular case. So Sally frequently lets me know I'm a good provider. And she has just a cute way of doing it. She doesn't have a list and comes up to me and reads it off, but just throughout our intercourse of the day and the week and the month and the year, Sally's always letting me know that she has confidence in me, that she expresses her appreciations of how I oversee, whether that's the home or the property or the vehicles, keeping them washed, clean, updated. She emphasizes my daily care for the ministry and our family and our social circle. She does this because she's always tuned in to God. And that's the key. And God's always sending little messages, just prompting her mind, her conscience on what she should say to her man. And you can do that too. It isn't something that you have to make up. It's something that you tune into God with. And then when God touches you and he impresses your mind, your heart, your thought, you share that with your man. It means a lot to him. In fact, she has developed a phrase for me that I just love. And sometimes she uses it in public, and sometimes she just does it when I'm walking past her in the kitchen. She says, "That's my man." And I wish she was here right now that you could hear her say, she says, "That's my man." And she means it. And even though I'm 74 years old, I mean, I go like, yeah, it feels good. I am her man. That wasn't just something that happened when we were 17 in high school and dating. This is something that's present tense. Love doesn't need to fade away. Love is actually designed to build and to grow and to be enhanced and to grow in something beautiful and lovely. It doesn't have to stall or decrease. You should hear how she She says it when we're out in public. And I'll be walking by her and she'll be talking to some ladies and she'll say, "Girls, that's my man." All of that makes me feel good. There's no one quite like you, as that's what it says to me. I married the right man, is what that says. You've become everything to me. That's what's in all that little phrase of "that's my man." Almost all men crave this kind of admiration and respect from their spouses. Ladies, you need to look for honest ways of giving admiration and respect to your man. You honestly do, and God will impress you with it. Ask the Holy Spirit to whisper in your ear uh, whenever you can honestly affirm your man. Not something that's made up. It's got to be honest. It's got to be real, because they'll know the difference. Then make this a practice until it becomes the habit of your everyday life. It doesn't have to die. We did it when we were courting each other. We're going with each other. Why does that have to stop? Love doesn't have to decrease or stall out. Ask God to help you to see your husband through God's eyes, to place the same value on him that God does, and to show it in very tangible ways. Affirm him in every way that you honestly can. Treat him like a VIP, a very important puppy. That's that's what my wife does with me. She's always stroking me, so to speak, like a very important puppy. And all of us as men are that, to be honest with you. So number 2 is companionship. I'll never forget my first date with Sally. We were 17 years old. I'd met her in high school chemistry class. I asked her if I could pick her up and take her up to High Cliff State Park. Well, at that particular time in my life, I had a motorcycle. I didn't have a car. So I go to Sally's house, and Sally, you got to remember, she's 17 years old. She's never even held a guy's hand. And now she's got to get on the back of my motorcycle. This I liked, if I'm real honest with you. So I pushed myself back a little bit further. Shame on me. Make real tight quarters. Shame on me. She didn't know that, but I knew it. And she's standing there and she's trying to figure this thing out. She's just like, how do I get on? She swung her leg over and she tried to keep some space between us, but it's very hard. And I made it very hard. And then she didn't know what to do with her hands. First, she put them behind her head. Well, that was stupid. Then she put them behind her back like this. Well, that was crazy. She finally ended up just taking her fingers like this and putting them on my hips and just barely touching me. So what do you think I did? I do have a little bit of mischievous in me. I popped a wheelie. I hit the gas, and she's either going to go off the back or she's going to have to grab on. And she grabbed on. That's just what I wanted. So we arrived at High Cliff State Park, and up I went up the cliffs. Looking down, I saw Sally following me. I was shocked. I was just going to impress her with my great climbing skills. I didn't really think that she would just climb up right behind me, but she did. I was impressed. So I took her on a hike down to the ski hill. It wasn't too far from High Cliff State Park. And we went to the top of the ski hill. You could drive up there in the back road. And I took her hand and I started running down the ski hill. And she ran right along my side. I couldn't believe it. Oh, she wasn't as athletically inclined as I was, but she was there. We were one together in all our activities. So I took her, there was this quarry that I knew, this secret quarry where you could dive off the cliffs and go swimming. So I took her to the quarry and she was incredible. She would not only dive off the sides of the cliffs with me, she would dunk me, I would dunk her. We'd splash each other, we'd be laughing, we'd be playing together. She was a blast to be with. Are you a blast to be with your husband, with your boyfriend? That's very important, not just when you court. This should be the rest of your life. Love never has to die out, never has to plateau. So I took her hunting. At that time in my life, I was a hunter. I am not anymore, but she'd look at me and say, "Where do you want me to stake out?" I would, I would just laugh. I just had a blast with it. Didn't matter what we're doing. I took her out to play tennis. She thought I was the worst tennis player in the world. She thought that you're supposed to try to hit the tennis ball to each other rather than score a point and keep them running. So I had her running all over the court. She wasn't saying anything to me at the time, but she thought, this guy is the worst tennis player in the world. He can't hit a ball straight to me. I take her to play racquetball. I love to play racquetball. I took her in the court with the racket and was trying to teach her how to scoop the ball off the back of the court. And when she took the racket and she tried to scoop it off the back wall, she ended up striking herself, got a black eye out of it. Oh, I took her to the Green Bay Packers football game. When the Packers scored a touchdown, she says, "Hey, they got a home run, did they?" I think I looked at the guys around me and they all rolled their eyes like, "Where'd you get this girl from?" But Sally was like my shadow, honestly speaking, just like a shadow, connected, attached, an integral part of my life. I never really had what they call a best friend with a guy. Well, Sally became my best friend over my buddies. I had a lot of buddies, but she became my best friend. No kidding. She still is today. She's very, very close with me. No, she wasn't as good or as gifted in these areas that I was in, but she was interested in being with me. Her heart was in being with me, whatever I wanted to do. Did you catch that? Didn't matter if she had ever tried it, ever did it, or she was good at it. She was always by my side. She was always trying to do her best. She may not have loved all these activities, but she loved being with me. And she still does today. Honestly speaking, she just loves being by my side. Doesn't matter what it is. Doing whatever was important to me. That's my Sally. I was her companion and she was mine. I didn't know I needed a companion at that time, but God did. Even Adam, we're told, in his perfect state. Here you have Adam. He's perfect. He's a perfect man in a perfect environment with a perfect occupation, and he was lonely. Did you catch that, ladies? Adam was lonely. So what did God do? God didn't give Adam a buddy. He gave him Eve. Eve is what complements your husband, not his buddies. And at age 74, Sally is still by my side. She's my companion in everyday life, whether it's cutting the lawn or ministering on the road, because we travel all over. And she's always there, always speaking with me, giving her side of the question, whatever we're speaking on. She edits my sermons. She goes hiking with me. She goes backpacking with me. She loves to go canoeing, skydiving. I wish you could have seen her when I said to her, "Honey, I want to skydive." She's, no, I'm not jumping out of the airplane. I wish you could have seen her the first time she jumped out of the airplane. It was like nothing. She was in the plane. She just stood up. She walked to the side door. She just jumped out. I couldn't believe it. What a companion. Scuba diving with the sharks with me. She's quite a gal. Now, I'm not asking you to do all that stuff, but the point is she does what's important to me. That's the point. That's the point of a companion. She's in it with me. What does it say in the Bible about Ruth? What the beauty of Ruth with Boaz was, wherever thou goest, I will go. Whatever thou doest, I will do. We need more Ruths today. Your main name may not be Ruth, but your attitude of always being there by Boaz's side, very, very important. That is God ordained. God put it there, not man. I have a friend, he loves to play racquetball, and his wife doesn't play racquetball, but he wants her there for his games. Why? He wants her to watch him. He wants her on the sideline cheering him on. He likes to look back and see that his wife is looking and she's giving him thumbs up, or that was a good point that you made. He thrives on her companionship. It opens his heart and endears him to her. Did you catch that, gals? Very important. There's a common stereotype out there that paints husbands as wanting to get away with the guys. In reality is most married men don't want to just abandon their wives and go do guy things, at least not all the time. No, they want to do guy things with their wives. Did you catch that? That's my Sally. She does guy things with her husband. That's what I want. They want her to be their playmate out there. In fact, according to a survey that I had read, spending time with his wife is second only to physical intimacy. Did you catch that? For men, when they surveyed all sorts of men, spending time with his wife is second only to physical intimacy for men. That's powerful. So catch that. Don't miss that. What is God saying to you right now? What is God impressing you with? Write it down. Because we ask God to speak through this message, not just Jim Hohnberger. You see, a woman who is having fun is incredibly attractive to her man. She actually becomes his Miss Universe. That's what Sally is to me. Your very presence is energizing to him, whether that is watching an appropriate video or going for a walk or helping with a chore. Your presence is energizing to him. He wants you by his side. It says you are here for him. That's what it tells him about your presence. Ladies, study your man, who he is. What are his interests? Do you know? And then get involved with that. What gets him excited and holds his attention? Do you know that? And then do you nurture that? Do you play that out with him? It's called sacrifice. You give yourself for the benefit of your husband. Then the benefit that comes back to you is he becomes one with you. You become his Miss Universe, and he wants to spend more time with you. And he wants to focus on you then. The two interact, focused on her and focused on him. Enter into it with him. Do it for him. Do it because you want to be one with him. Number 3, she's attractive to me. My Sally, honestly, is very easy on my eyes. I can remember the first day in chemistry class when I was 17 years old. I got into class early. I was sitting way up to the front. They put us in alphabetically. So I was Hohnberger, Sally was Hughes. So she sat right behind me. I didn't know that first day of chemistry class, but I'm just sitting there, and in comes walking Sally, books in her arm, very astute. And she walks right by me. And I thought, wow, her hair was done just right. She looked just like a little angel to me. Oh, she took pride in the way that she took care of herself, whether that was her hair or the clothes that she wore, and the way that she carried herself was powerful. Sally possessed a purity and a wholesomeness that really drew me to her. She was like a beautiful flower, lovely to behold. I got a picture of her here. Hopefully I'll put this up on the screen. This is Sally at age 17 when I first met her. What a lovely flower. That was her, age 17. Beautiful, lovely young lady. Her physical appearance combined with her sweet disposition. Oh, I can't tell you her character, of her disposition, and the depth of her personality all made her very attractive to me. It wasn't just her physical appearance, but that was part of it. That's what first drew me. But her disposition and her personality just added so much to it. She is numero uno in my book. I still actively chase her. In fact, I have what I call beauty attacks. Sometimes just to catch her attention. If she's in the kitchen, I'll start having a beauty attack, and that's where I go into a cardiac arrest, and I start having a heart attack, and I fall over on the ground, and I lay there just trembling until I get a kiss, and to get her attention. I call them beauty attacks, and she gets a kick out of this. But one day, this is my greatest beauty attack, by the way. She likes it when I take her shopping. She likes it when I go through the grocery store with her, and I push the little cart, and she picks the things off shelf, and she's got her little note checklist there. Oh, I got to get this, got to get that. Well, I was trying to flirt with her, and I was bumping the little cart into her backside, and I was making cute little comments about her, and she was just ignoring me. I mean, she was just into her what was on her list, checking it off, picking it off, putting it in the little cart, and I was just supposed to move, and I'm trying to get her attention, and she won't give it to me. So I thought to myself, I'm going to have a beauty attack. Remember, I go into cardiac arrest. I start falling to the ground, and I tremor on the ground until I get my kiss. Well, there was other people in the aisle at the time. I thought, I'm gonna fix her. She's ignoring me. I'm gonna embarrass her. So I started going to my beauty attack. She looks at me. She says, Jim, don't you, Jim, stop that, stop that. And people started hearing her in the aisle, and they're watching this go on. So I just went into cardiac arrest, and I started falling down, and I heard people say, get the manager, this guy's having a heart attack. And Sally's looking at me and said, Jim, stop this. This is not funny. You don't do this in public. I fell on the ground, and I'm just having trembles, and she won't kiss me. I mean, she's embarrassed. She's scolding me in public. I held out till I got my kiss. Finally, the manager comes around. I stand up, and we just told him we were just having a little bit of playful fun. And the manager says, I don't see that in marriages anymore. How sad. Why not? She's still that beautiful flower that caught my attention when I was 17 years old. That's 57 years ago. She was my sweetheart then. Why isn't she my sweetheart now? So, wives, are you doing the best for your husbands? Your effort to be attractive in your appearance, your personality, and your approach to him is vitally important. It isn't just your physical beauty, it's the inward beauty, your disposition, your approach to him. It says he is worth sacrificing for. You see, it's the effort you put forth for him that opens his heart to you. You need to consult with God and let him empower you to be all that he made you to be as a wife, as a Proverbs 31 wife. And I'd like to say my wife isn't a Proverbs 31. She's a Proverbs 62 wife. That's a double 31. She's gone way beyond what I see other wives do it. Do it because God's called you to be that, because you love him, that you're willing to sacrifice yourself for him. Number 4, how you doing so far? It's quite a calling, isn't it? It's a full-time occupation, hopefully that you love to do. Number 4 is affection and warm. The guys I hung around with in high school made it a goal to get a kiss on their first date. I remember listening to many of them brag about it, when we get together during lunch hour or something. To them, it was big time stuff. I got a kiss on my first date. Well, Sal and I dated for months before I tried to steal my first kiss. So why did I say steal my first kiss? Sal was a very proper girl. I had lost my license. I had a motorcycle. Apparently, I was driving too fast, swerving in and out of traffic. Shame on me. And at that time, for your first offense, they took your license away for 90 days. So Sally, I'd lost my license. So Sally was picking me up in her car, and she'd take us out to wherever we were going, to the dance or whatever. Then she'd drop me off at my home. Well, we're sitting in the driveway by our back door. And I thought to myself, I've been dating this gal for quite a few months. I'm going to get my first kiss. But I was scared to death because this gal was so proper. So I put my hand on the doorknob. Remember, she's sitting in the driver's seat. I was sitting on the passenger side. Put my hand on the doorknob for a swift escape in case she didn't care for this. And then I quickly reached over and I kissed her just on the cheek, just a little bitty kiss on the cheek. And she got so mad. She wanted, She didn't want anybody to kiss her until the man that she was going to marry. That was her principle, and she was not happy with me. Well, I found out that we continued to date. She wasn't so cold and so prudish. She was powerful. Sally became, our relationship grew together heart to heart over months, many months. And holding hands with Sally became very special to me. It wasn't like holding anybody else's hand. Her hugs were very, very endearing to me. She had a warmth and affection I'd never known before. Very, very proper, very, very pure, very, very special. It wasn't like any of the other girls I dated. It was deep. It was meaningful. Now at age 74, we were out walking because we'll take a little walk from our home, usually in the nighttime. We're out walking and I was bantering with her and just playing around with her, teasing her like I did in the supermarket. And she just stopped me and she looked up at me with those admiring eyes and she kissed me in such a sweet and connected way. It was powerful. That's after 57 years. I got back and I left a note on her desk and it said, "Sally, your kisses were particularly sweet tonight." Then she put the note back on my desk and she said, "So were yours," with a big smiley face. Yeah. We've been married 50 years. We've known each other for 57 years. Wives, I can't express to you enough the need of true daily affection. Men especially are empty cups here. They really are. I'm not just talking about climbing into bed. I'm talking about conveying your heart to his heart. That's vitally important. Romance doesn't need to end at marriage. It needs to be pursued and it needs to be perfected as an art. God still pursues me. I've been following him for, I was in my 30s when I first introduced to God, and now I'm 74. For 40 years, God's still pursuing me. He never stops to pursue. Why should we stop the pursuit of each other? It needs to be continued. It needs to be nurtured as a way of life. I know our grandchildren, when they stay with us or they watch us, one grandson comes up to me and says, "You and Grandma are like a couple high school kids." Yeah, we are. Nothing wrong with that. My mother was an expert at this. Dad always loved coming home. A lot of the guys that he hung with, they'd go to the bar after work and get a bunch of drinks and do guy things. Not my dad. No, my mother was always, I can't ever remember a time she would take a fresh shower before Dad would come home. She'd put on a fresh dress. She'd fix up her hair, put on her sweet little makeup that she thought was important to her. And my dad always came home after work. He never went out with the guys to the bars at night. Why? Because he had a warm, loving, affectionate wife. And when he'd come in the house, she'd hand him a bottle of beer. I don't drink anymore, but that was their thing at that time. And they'd go to the front porch and he'd drink his beer and they would chit chat back and forth every day. When it was winter and was too cold on the porch, they'd do it in the living room. What an example I saw from my mother. She always made herself attractive. The house was always clean. It was never messy. She always had the table set before he came home. She would always have special hot dishes, meals that he liked. Always. I can't remember a time that it wasn't. It was like breathing to her. It was just something that you were. She would greet him with such a tenderness and affection. I can remember watching that. Wow. They would connect. Daily, they would connect. This connectedness made them irresistible to each other. And that's what we're supposed to be. Sally's supposed to be irresistible to me, and I'm supposed to be irresistible to Sally. But you have to know the principles behind it. You have to know the steps of action. So, what a gal. Today, I showed you a picture of Sally at 17. Today, here's my girl. There she is at my side. This is our 50th wedding anniversary in the house. Our kids came to join us. You know, she's still attractive to me. You know, this morning, she weighs herself every morning, by the way. I know this is a touchy subject, but this morning at age 74, she weighed 122.2 pounds. That's what she weighed when I met her when she was 17 years old. Why? Why does she do that? This isn't some sort of legalism she's into. She likes to keep herself attractive for me. What is God saying to you? Now, you don't have to match what Sally does. You don't have to match what Jim does. We're just sharing with you the principles of life that draw and bind two hearts together. And she's easy on my eyes, not just when she's 17. She's easy on my eyes when she's 74. And no, that's not the heart of our marriage anymore. Her devotion to her God, her personality, her skill set, all that's a beautiful package, but she keeps the whole package together, not just one aspect of the package. So number 5, Sally has become my helper. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, the Lord said, it is not good for man, it's not good for Jim Hohnberger to be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him. God designed a woman that was suitable, ideal for me. And that's Sally. That's why out of all those girls I dated, she stood out because she was suitable for me. Her personality dovetailed with my personality. And the two of us together become a dynamic duo. We wouldn't have that dynamics just on our own, but put together, yes, we become a dynamic duo. And you can be a dynamic duo with your spouse as well. But God says, I will make Jim a helper suitable for him. Why is that? Sally is my helper, yes, and we're engaged in it. But I need help. That was in Adam's perfect state. He needed help. So guess what? With fallen humanity, we need even more help. I can remember I was working at a Standard Oil gas station when I was going to school. So I was dating a number of girls. This is when I just after I met Sally, I was still dating a number of girls. I was proper in the culture that I was raised in. I don't think it's proper now with my understanding, but at the time I was dating actually 3 or 4 different girls. I'd take Sally out on Saturday nights. That was Sally's night. And I was working at the gas station, and Karen had drove in. Karen came in. I usually took her out on Friday night. And this was a Wednesday. And Karen drove in the gas station. She didn't get any gas or anything. She was just in the little office there. And she was wondering if I was going to take her out Friday night. And all of a sudden, I spied out the window of the gas station Sally's 1960 yellow Canary Ford. And you could spot that thing a mile away. And I saw her coming towards the gas station. I thought, am I in trouble? Karen's in the gas station, wanted to know if I would take her out. Now Sally's going to drive in, and these two are going to meet at the door. And I thought, I'm in trouble. So I said, listen, Karen, I'll pick you up Friday night. And I started walking her out to her. She had just bought a brand new blue Camaro. I started walking around in the Camaro. I opened her Camaro door. And I was telling her I'd pick her up at what time, and Sally drove in right at that time, parked right next to that Camaro, just on the opposite side of it. I shut the door, said goodbye to Karen, and Sally steps out of her car, but she, instead of just greeting me, she went to the back seat. In the back seat, she took out this wooden tray, and she had this big towel over it. And she picks it up, and she said, told me to take the towel off, and I took it off. And there it was, hot buttered bun, hot buttered corn. There was a cheeseburger so thick. At that time, I was really into that. I'm not now, but at that time, there was this cheeseburger, and there's this root beer float, and this biscuit and corn. And I just looked at her, and my mouth was watering. I was impressed. Why? I never been treated by that way by any girlfriend before. So, ladies, what was the difference between Karen, who came to the gas station simply for what I could do for her, but Sally, her reason was what she could do for me? Yeah. And I caught it. I saw the difference between the Karen and the Sally. Boy, did that ever win my heart to Sally? What a contrast. Soon Sally became the only girl in my life I cared to date, and she still is today. She's the only one I've got eyes for. Boy, when she walks into the room, she still catches my attention. That's my girl. Yep. Sally had a true serving heart, not only back then, but she still does today. Sally wasn't just doing it to get a man on the hook. I see a lot of girls do that. They do it to get their man on the hook, and then they drop the whole program. And marriage goes stale. It plateaus. This was Sally's way of loving me. And today, after 50 years of marriage, this has not let up. I can honestly tell you, this has not let up. It's actually gotten better. If you visit our home, you'll find out that I am probably the most doted over husband in the United States today. Honestly, I think I hold that title. And she does. She just, even my buddies say, what is it with you two? She just dotes over you, Jim, like you were in high school chemistry class. Well, the chemistry's still alive because our hearts are knitted to each other. She lives out these principles every day of our marriage. And she does it under God, in and through Jesus Christ, because it's her way of loving her man. And she never lets up in it. She's always tuned into me, and I'm always tuned into her. It works the other way too. And that's why we have become a dynamic duo. So I have one question for you before I close out this part 4 of the 6-part series. One question and one answer. Why are Sal and I in love after 50 years of marriage? That's an honest question. I mean, we just had our 50th wedding anniversary and we're in love. I didn't say we love each other. I said we're in love just as much. In fact, no, we're more in love today than we were back when we were 17 years old, 18 years old, going through college. We're more in love today. I can tell you why. Because I'm still focused on Sally, and Sally is still focused on me, and we're both focused on God, making him the center of our relationship. And that makes all the difference. And if you'll become focused on each other and focus on the God that created you and following his principles, you will become a dynamic duo. I guarantee it.